All right, everybody. We are here today with Brady Hiestand from season 29 of The Ultimate Fighter. He was last on the scene when he fought Ricky in the Chikadze Barboza card for the finale. How have things been since then?
Been pretty good, shortly after the fight, I had to get ACL surgery, so I had to repair my ACL and meniscus. So honestly, just been recovering from that and supporting the team. And yeah, I'm actually flying out to Vegas to go watch Mike fight, and then also Terrence and Misha.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that. I mean, you have Mike Chiesa coming up on this card. Obviously, you guys are teammates. You know, with you being kind of sidelined, has it been kind of nice seeing him, be able to be in training camp and get ready for fights? And, you being there, is it kind of like a mental thing that you're taking in, kind of just taking in the scene of the Apex?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'm still up in Washington right now, but I try to stay in the fighting as much as possible. I go to practice every night still, and I watch fights. And so I'm keeping that mental training up. And obviously you got to support him. He was in my corner for my fight, and he was there the whole fight week, helping with the cut and everything. So it's only fitting that I go down and support him.
And so I guess the real question I'm going to ask is, how excited are you to get out of that Washington weather and go enjoy some nice Vegas weather?
Oh, I'm always excited to go to Vegas, but I kind of like the snow and the cold up here. Everyone's like, so are you going to move out? Are you going to go to Vegas? Where are you going to move to now? And I'm like, bro, I'm staying here in Washington. I love skiing and I love the winter vibe. So I don't think I'm ever going to move from Washington, but it is nice to go get some rays every once in a while.
And, going kind of back to you for your recovery, how have things been? Are you in physical training or physical therapy still? Are you able to get kind of on the mats right now? What are you kind of looking at?
Yeah, so I haven't, it's the hardest thing ever, because since I was 14, I've never took longer than like 2 weeks off from training. And so this is the longest time I haven't been able to train. I just now started being able to put more and more weight on, but I'm still on crutches, so I haven't been able to train at all. Just like I said, I've just been watching practice. So I haven't been on the mat in probably almost 6 weeks now. It's been kind of rough. That's the hardest part for me.
That last fight was back in August, I believe, correct? And now it's November, so that seems about right. The healing process and things are going well. I mean, does it kind of hurt to see guys like Andre, who are in your season, be able to fight a little more than you've been able to? Or do you kind of see this as like a blessing in disguise, maybe?
I am jealous, because I'm like, before they knew like I was like going through the process, they already had a fight lined up. I won't say who or whatever, but that would have been like, I think it would have been like the Holloway card or something like that. It would have been somewhat recent. And so the fact that I missed that opportunity because I had to get surgery sucks. But, it's one of those things where, I got a lot of time in the sport and I'm not going anywhere. I'm only 22, so I got forever to fight. So, I got to look at the long run. It's going to be just a small setback. Not a big deal.
And obviously, I mean, you're going into a bantamweight division, which is, I would say, probably one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC right now. Obviously, you had the interim title fight in October between Corey and Peter. I mean, were you up early in the morning watching that? And I mean, do you kind of get the butterflies watching those two guys go at it, knowing that's where you want to be eventually?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I watch every 135-pound fight. I'm watching, and I honestly watch every UFC card and every fight that's out there. But I definitely pay attention to those 35. And for the title, or the interim title, that was incredible. I thought Peter Yan was gonna win. I think his style is just, I think he's the GOAT of the 35 division right now. He's the guy to beat. And so I was pretty stoked to see those guys go at it.
So let me ask you, who's the real champ at 35 then? Is it Aljo or is it Yan?
Dude, of course it's Yan, like it would have, like, I think it would be more debatable, and I think people would give Aljo less shit if it wasn't so one-sided. I feel like their fight was all Yan the whole fight up until he fucked up and kneed him on the ground. So yeah, I think Yan takes it for sure.
And, obviously you're going to be kind of the newer guy coming into the division. Like you said, you're 22. You only have, so many good years ahead of you. I mean, you look at guys up at 45, like Holloway, who's only 29, and, he's in his peak and, he's up there. You got a long time to kind of develop and things like that. Do you kind of want to maybe take your time in the 135 division, get some fights under your belt? Or, are you just trying to get up to the top and, you want to fight whoever is the best opponent they can give you?
Honestly, I'll take whatever they give me. It's I can see it going either way. I mean, like I said, I got a lot of growing to do in a lot of different parts of my game and just physically. You know, I don't even know if I'm going to be at 35 for the rest of my career. Maybe at some point when I'm older, I'll have to go up or something. Just depends on what happens. But you know, I'll take whatever fight they give me. If they give me a higher ranked guy, you know, climb the rankings there. But I'm in no rush. I'm ready to be here for a while. So I'm here for a good time and a long time.
And I guess one of the things when I watch The Ultimate Fighter that kind of commonly comes up in my head is like, you know, you guys have all these fights so close to each other, and, you know, cutting weight obviously is not fun, and you're living in the house. And, you know, do you try to keep around 136, 135? You know, what was the most you really got up to in the house, if you're, you know, if you could tell me? But I just kind of wondered, like, how hard is it to kind of stay around fight weight that long?
You know, okay, I'll start with the good. So luckily I had Mike you know, in my camp and stuff, and he said that was the hardest part of the show, was continually making the weight. So before I got on the show, I got to lighter than I usually do to like get to 35. So I was like, you know, like when we did the open workouts and they were picking teams, I weighed in at 147. And so that was like my walking weight on the show. That being said, after my fight with Josh, I celebrated a little bit, and I don't really drink or anything, but like I like to eat. And so I like just mowed down for like 2 days, 3 days, didn't look at the scale. And for some reason, it freaked me out. I hopped on the scale one day and I was like 160. And I don't know what was up with my body or what was going on, but I was like, what the hell is going on? Because I was walking around at 147 and I was just barely eating way too much, and my body was just holding on to everything. And I got up to 160. And so obviously after that day, because I fought 2 weeks later, so I had a total of like 11 days to lose all that weight. So, but luckily when I cleaned it up, it was a pretty easy cut. And I was so paranoid, I actually overshot it, and I shot all the way down to 133.
So I guess another question I kind of had watching the show is like, you know, obviously you want to be this, make the show dramatic between the two coaches and things like that. I mean, did you ever feel like between Ortega and Volkanovski, they really hated each other ever? Or do you think it was kind of just for the cameras?
I didn't feel the hate, but I definitely felt, you know, Volk was like kind of irritated with Ortega. I think, you know, I think it was real. Maybe it was like exaggerated a little bit, but you could tell, like, because even when the cameras weren't there, there was like, he was obviously pissed off and like talking shit and stuff like that. So, you know, and all the reasons he was talking shit were valid. Like there was one time we were all like gonna weigh in, but he showed up late to the weigh-ins. So like, luckily it wasn't the time I was weighing in, but everyone was like cut out and like ready to drink and just feeling like shit. And he shows up late, so we had to wait for him, and so that was irritating. So it was all real, but maybe a little exaggerated. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in their fight, the lead up to their fight, it did seem like, you know, he kind of brought that up a couple of times that, you know, Ortega was late and things like that. And I don't know if it's just the Australian accent or what, but he just kind of seems like a natural, happy dude. So
Yeah,
it kind
for
of
sure.
just, you know, it kind of just felt a little weird when I saw him like yelling at Ortega on the show. I mean, obviously, you know, they're fighters. You guys are all fighters, you know, so tempers can get heated and, you know, they can flare. But it just kind of seemed, I don't know, I don't want to say out of character of Volkanovski, but it just kind of seemed like it was a different, you know, I saw a different side of him, which was, you know, I'm not saying it was necessarily a bad thing, but it was just kind of interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And you know, though, everyone has like different sides to them too. And I guess you got to think that they capture everything on camera, and so they always pick the most intense moments. And so he might have let it out a little bit, and that's what they use for footage because it was the most interesting.
And, you know, going back to something you said a little earlier, you said you've been, you know, at the gym every single night or as much as you can be. Obviously, you know, you got therapy and stuff to do, but watching Chiesa kind of prep for this camp, I mean, do you feel like he's going to kind of come back? I mean, obviously he had a tough loss. He lost by submission to Vicente Luque, which is kind of weird to me, but, you know, Vicente's out there trying to take people's heads off, and Michael Chiesa's, you know, the submission specialist, but of course it gets flipped around when they fight. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
can you kind of talk about how he's been in camp and, you know, maybe talk about how vital it is for a young guy like you to see him in camp.
Yeah, so that's a big thing that I've learned from Hiestand is that, like, you know, this camp's not a whole lot different than any other camp in the fact because he's always on it. Like he's never a lazy guy. He always like is working out 2-3 times a day. He's always like coming in, and that's not his first workout of the day. So he's always coming in to train. He's like, yeah, I got some rounds in, at jujitsu, or he's like did some strength and conditioning and stuff. So like he's always like really diligent about his training in training camp, which is good, and I think that's why he's so successful. And I think the Luke fight was just, I think it just was like a mistake because I mean, I don't know if you saw it too, but in the pretty much the first exchanges of the fight, I feel like it was all Chiesa up until he slipped off and just kind of put himself in a bad position and just got caught. But I feel like he looked good. He was landing good strikes. He got a good takedown. He was on the back. And so he just made a mistake. But, he didn't come in out of shape. He didn't come in undertrained or whatever. So I think he'll be fine this fight.
And, you kind of spoke to it earlier, that weight cutting is such a big deal, especially in the house. And, I kind of see Michael Chiesa now at 170. And, I mean, he looks like a big guy even at 170. And, it kind of reminds me, like, how did he ever make 155s? You know what I mean? And just, can you kind of speak to that? Like, has there been ever a part of you that maybe thought about cutting even more weight? Or do you feel like 135 has always kind of been a good weight cut for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. That's why I was talking about earlier, like maybe one day I'll go up, is because 35 is like the perfect limit for me. Like I can get down there. I feel good when I fight. I can never make 25. I wouldn't even want to try. I just feel like my frame's not built for it. But like with Chiesa, I think he's got bigger the older he's got. And so like you say, he's like he's a big 170er now. And so it's like, like you grow a little bit as you get older, your bones get a little more dense and stuff like that. And so I think that's why the move up to 170 was perfect for him, because he kind of grew into the weight class. But yeah, I don't think I would ever go down. I don't think I physically wouldn't even be able to.
And, you mentioned it earlier, Chiesa fights on Saturday, or I guess that's tomorrow, actually.
Yeah.
And so you're flying out today. Are you going to be cornering on Saturday then?
No, I don't think I'm going to be cornering. Like he has his crew. He has Austin Arnett, Sam Sicily, and Rick Little in the corner. And they've been riding together for the last 12 years, and so he has a good crew with him. I'll be in the stands. He got me and, one of our up and coming guys too, Ashton. He got us both some tickets. So we'll be there in the Apex supporting him, but he has his crew with him there, but we'll be partying afterwards, celebrating that W.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, do you maybe have a prediction for that fight coming up?
Dude, I don't know. It's honestly, I don't know much about Sean Brady, and I haven't seen him fight anyone at the caliber of Chiesa. So, obviously I know Chiesa's gonna win, but I don't know if it's gonna be submission, just because we haven't seen enough of Sean Brady to really tell it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I was just gonna ask, when it comes to these cards where you have teammates fighting and things like that, is it a little harder to watch just because you are so close to these guys?
No, I get excited. I get more invested. It's just fun for me. Obviously I think I get more nervous than when I'm fighting for some reason, just because I don't have any control, and I'm like, I feel really comfortable when I'm in control of the situations I'm in. But watching, I just get so tuned in, so excited. I also got another buddy, Terrence McKinney. He's fighting on the card. He's from Spokane, and I've trained with him a bunch. And so that's going to be an exciting one too. And then Misha Tate, she's from Washington, and she's come up and trained a few times. So this is probably the most excited I've been for a card out of the whole year.
Yeah, and also quick shout out to Terrence McKinney, man. He's a good friend of the show too. So, got to get him his shout out too. I may or may not have placed some money on him this weekend. So, we'll see how that goes. But
I would too. Damn, like I just I look at their fights and stuff, and I'm like, dude, this is a good matchup for Terrence. Like obviously any matchup's a good matchup for Terrence, but like I have confidence in him with this one for sure.
Yeah, and his last fight, I think, is one of my favorite moments in the UFC, just commentary-wise, because all the commentators were talking about how Frevola loved to get in scraps, how he loves to get in firefights, and then Terrence hit him with just a
Yeah.
1-2, and he just went out, and it's like, oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
There is no phone connected.
Sorry, I'm in my car for the fire station.
oh man, it's all good. I was just about to say we do appreciate your time, man, and I was just about to wrap it up. So if there's anything else you'd like to say, man, of course the floor is yours.
No, that's it. I just want to say thank you for having me on the show, and I'm excited to see these fights this weekend.
Yeah, man. And hopefully we'll get you back once you get a fight announced. I do hope recovery is going well for you as well. I mean, as a guy that has ACL problems, I right when you told me that, my heart just sank down. I was like, oh crap.
Oh yeah, for sure. Luckily, I had a good doctor. He said everything's going smooth. I should be. They said like 6 to 7 months after surgery, I could be fully back to training and everything like that. And so, a few months after that, getting back in shape, I'll be fighting. So hopefully, I got maybe 8-9 months left.
All right, man. Well, in 8-9 months when that fight gets announced, man, I'll be excited to see you back in there. Everybody, Brady Hiestand, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.